Okay, that's my jerk wings. Sat down famous curry shrimp, rice and peas. And if you notice, you may even see some Jamaican thyme in it. This is my famous sat down vegetable. Beautiful, sweet, ripe plantain. There it is. That's it. My curry shrimp, jerk chicken, straight from the grill. And I use a boneless chicken, so this way you don't have to fight with any bone. Marinate all the way through. It's not complete until you add the sauce to it. This is my special sauce that I create. Yeah man, that's how we do it. Grab this please. When I first decided to utilize the name Sat Down, it was a name that was given to me by my mother when I was a little kid. But it wasn't Sat Down, it was Sack Down. Because I would basically hit somebody if they bothered me when I was a kid and then run and hide under the bed. So my mother always called me Sack Down. So anyway, when I decided to open Sat Down, I've been using the name Sat Down for many years as my email, and I felt it was appropriate to carry on the same name and just continue the restaurant business. First of all, thank you for that amazing introduction, world famous Tony. Chef Anthony is one of the most humblest, easygoing chef in the Caribbean community. And the simple fact that I don't just specialize in Jamaican food, I like to venture out of the norm, so to speak. So that's who I am. Started off in Whole Foods Market about 20 years ago, doing recipe for them, and then decided to go back on my own and started doing my own thing, so to speak, where I'm comfortable. So that's who I am. My journey started in Franklin Town, Jamaica. Okay, I left Jamaica when I was about 14, went to New York City. Lived in New York City from 14 all the way till about 28, high school, some college. Actually, I have to give credit to my grandmother, because my grandmother, Kathleen Morgan, back in Jamaica, she used to make cake and fry fish for all of the people that was, getting married and having little events. So I was the person that was always rubbing up the butter and the sugar. And of course, you lick out the butter and the sugar after you finish rub it out. So that's where I kind of get a taste for the kitchen. So eventually when I'm in New York, opened my first place, then it became natural, So went down to Florida, bought a house, and rented a little place for a restaurant and put up a big sign that says coming soon. Coming soon, I don't remember what it was, Tony's Jamaican Restaurant. I don't remember exactly what the name was, but it said Jamaican Restaurant and Bakery, coming soon. I went back to New York and I spent maybe another 6 months, to be able to sell the business that I had there. So the minute I sold the business, I went back to Florida to finish opening the restaurant. Once everything was finished and the restaurant opened, it's so funny. I opened the restaurant at 10 o'clock that day, and by 2 o'clock, every single thing that I had cooked was already sold out. So I had to close the restaurant on the first day. It was so successful. And from there, it just continued to go up from there, I remember there was times when the door would be the door couldn't close because there was so many people in the place. And I didn't anticipate this kind of traffic when I first opened the place. Because the area that I opened, it's so funny. On one side, it was such a bad area. They call it Pleasant City. On the other side, you would have some really nice houses with manicured lawns. So it was like a conflict between the good and the bad, the yin and the yang. So it was perfect, you know? And, you know, I stayed there, and within probably a year, I was able to expand it. You know, there were 2 vacancies right next to me. So I just expanded straight over and make it 3 times as big. And then probably within the next year and a half, 2 years, I was expanding to another location on the other side of town in West Palm Beach. So I was always looking for room to grow. And it was a perfect venue to be able to grow because I had so much following. I had so many, you know, great people that was coming into the restaurant. From, we had the mayor, we had, you know, the police officers, the sheriff department, all of these people were coming in to eat. Florida was extremely successful to me, right up to the point where I wind up becoming a victim of racism. And I'm not talking about maybe you're in the line and somebody call you the N-word or something like that. I'm talking about racism that came from the Border Patrol. And a simple fact that I was driving one day in a BMW, maybe just in the wrong place at the wrong time, but I was on the freeway. And, you know, encountered some Border Patrol officers that decided to, I guess, overextend their authority and, you know, show that, you know, people of color does not necessarily have much rights in certain parts of this country, you know. And I remember for the next week and a half in front of my restaurant in West Palm Beach, I would see this green van pull up and sat there for probably 20 minutes every morning watching me until they drove away. And then one day I was in the restaurant, and my guy that was in the front organizing the dining room, he came to the back and he told me that there were some men knocking on the door with green clothes. So I said, well, open the door. It's probably the sheriff department, because the sheriff department, they came there to eat quite regular, you know. So the minute they opened the door, I could hear these guys yelling my name. So I was cutting some planting in the kitchen, me and the other chef, and I walk out with a knife in my hand, you know, and right away I encountered some guns in my face telling me drop the knife. He's got a knife, you know. I put the knife down, and before I knew it, I was in handcuffs, you know. Even though I had a green card to be in this country, I wasn't illegal, you know. They came in the restaurant, they searched the restaurant, they ransacked the restaurant, to be honest with you. They went in my car, broke the dashboard, everything. Drove me to my apartment, took the key from my pocket, went upstairs, opened the door. They didn't find anything, so I spent the next 11 and a half months fighting for my freedom in Chrome, which is what they call the deportation station. They ordered me deported to Jamaica, even though, again, I had a legal residency here. I decided to fight the case, and it took me 11 and a half months to get out of there. So once I get out, I still was not free. It was unjust, and God never necessarily liked people that do things unjust. Eventually, you know, the truth will come out. You know, I look at it and I say, maybe I had to be here. But the weirdest thing is, the restaurant that they took me from, it was the color inside, the color scheme was orange, white, and blue, like an aqua blue. When I walk into this restaurant first, it was the same exact color. It was the weirdest thing. the same exact color, the orange, the white, and the blue. So I felt like this was deja vu. It's like I came from one dimension and wind up in the other dimension that was, it's kind of weird. You know, I can't explain it. After 13 and a half years, here I am still, you know. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful to God for the journey. I'm grateful to God for the lesson, because the lesson, if somebody give it to you in a book and you read it, it's not the same. But when you're actually able to live and endure it, you will see this lesson and you say, wow, how did I do it? But I made it happen, you know, and I'm very grateful for the lesson. So if meat is what you love, then oxtail will always make you feel comfortable. I'm called comfort food, you know. One day I had two ladies came in and sat down and eat. And when they finished eating, they said, wow, the food is really good. And, you know, they spoke to me for a while, and they came back probably a week later with two more women. So it was now 4 of them, and I cooked for them, and they sat down, they ate. After they finished eating, again, they called me and they said, you know, your food is really good, it's impressive. And we would like to do a story because we work for LA Times, you know. I said, okay, well, that would be good. I would be happy, you know, if you do a story on the restaurant, you know. And of course, they decided to write the story. It took them probably about 2 or 3 weeks to write the story. And right when the story was going to be released, they called me up and they said, listen, the story is going to be released Friday morning, and you're going to be busy. I said, it's okay, I can handle it. Yeah. She said, no, you don't understand. You're going to be busy, you know? And I said, really? She said, yes, you're going to be busy. Anyway, I decided to come into the restaurant at 7 o'clock that morning instead of 8:30, like I normally come. I came in at 7 and the phone was ringing nonstop. I'm answering the phone like, and they're like, what time you open? What time you open? And it was just a regular question over and over. After a while, I had to stop answering the phone because I couldn't do what I was doing. I had another guy that came in probably about 9 o'clock to help me. And both of us was in the kitchen getting everything done. By 11 o'clock when we opened the door, I had everybody here. And when I look outside, I wanted to just close the door and just go hide because there was a line going around the building. And I'm saying, no, that couldn't be for me because I never experienced anything like that, you know. But sure enough, it was a line around the building coming to sit down. And the minute I opened the restaurant door, the place was full. Everybody ran inside and sat down. And I'm like, oh my God, you know. So in no time, there was a long list of order in the kitchen that has to be done. That time I had salmon burger, I had hamburgers, and I had all these different things. That was just time consuming, you know? So it became such a difficult challenge to get that done, but I was able to get it done. And after I got it done, I remember I walked out into the dining room and everybody got up and cheered, you know? So it was, again, such a blessing, you know? So that the challenge at that point was able to fulfill the order. Side of 10 plantain. All right, cool. And that wave took me about at least 6 weeks. You know, we were nonstop, 6 weeks. And 6 weeks was huge back in those days. The unique sat-down experience has always been, I have the ability to let a person smile or laugh or change their perception of what's happening in their life at the moment once they walk inside, if they interact with me. Because I've had people that walk in and I will say something foolish enough like, for instance, we're closed right now, or we're out of food, or, you know, any stupid thing that will make a person engage with me. And if I allow that interaction, then they walk away with a positive experience, you know. So if I'm able to do that with every single customer, which I know it's a little bit impossible, but if I'm able to do that, then each and every person that walk in here will always walk out and feel like, wow, it's a great experience. Everybody that step in, they want to know what we're famous for. So this is one of the things we're famous for. Nice big pieces with lots of meat. And you can't forget the gravy. The gravy is one of those things that is a must. The signature sat-down dish to me has always been oxtails. Oxtails and my jerk chicken, because I use my jerk marinade, my own jerk marinade. So my jerk chicken and my oxtail has become the signature dishes. But from time to time, it seems like the oxtail is always fighting against the jerk chicken, and the oxtail wind up a win, so so it is, I would love to see a sat-down franchise, honest to God. I would love to see, sat down in some of the areas that we feel that ethnic food is prohibited. As far as Egypt, where the pyramids are, because if a McDonald's is there, why can't we have a sat down there? It would be a dream come true. I'll put it out in the universe and then see what's possible. Because the simple fact that I have the logo on my hand, I believe in the logo, I believe in the brand. So I'm thinking, okay, the rest should happen, So it's only time will tell. Some of the things I'm passionate about, most people don't know, but I love to paint art, So I've done oil painting, and I think if I wasn't in the restaurant, I wouldn't mind sitting by the ocean and painting, That's one of the things that make me feel good, I remember there were many times at 2 o'clock in the morning, I would get up out of my bed and sat in front of my easel and paint for maybe an hour and go back to bed. And it made me feel comfortable. It's kind of weird, but sorry, that's the weirdness about me, okay? Nothing weirder than that. My favorite sat-down dish to eat every single time has to be jerk salmon. I'm one of those people that can eat salmon, I think, 6 days out of the week. Yes. I can eat salmon or I can eat some jerk shrimp, but for the most part, it has to be a jerk salmon, And I think it's the simple fact that the flavor from the jerk sauce, just goes into it when you cook it on the grill. And then it's a combination of the smoke and the char, the charbroil from the grill that just give it an amazing flavor, So that's my thing. When I opened this place, I decided I had to allow, areas that people is gonna walk in and say, okay, can I have a vegan this or a vegan that? We have a curry vegan chicken, we have a jerk vegan chicken, we have a mango chutney vegan chicken, we have a tropical vegan chicken. Then of course we have like a jerk vegetable or a curry vegetable. That is my vegan mango chutney. And if you never eat meat and you come in and try this, you would swear it's meat. I welcome the people that has not been to sat down, and if you have been here before but you haven't been here for a long time, I welcome you back. The simple fact that I am still here is a blessing, and the simple fact that you're able to maybe pick up some curry powder from the shelf in case you decide to be a chef or a cook at home. You can come in and grab what you need to grab, plus we have the hot sauces and all those things. So, come on in. I left Jamaica, like I said, when I was 14. But some of my fondest memory in Jamaica was going to the ocean 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning. Go out there with my father and go swimming, and this man would swim out so far you can't see him, Eventually everybody would, gather at the beach and you would see him swim back in, and fisherman are pulling fresh fish are fry. And everybody a kick soccer ball on the beach, and it feels so good. I started growing my locks because it was a way to identify where I was from. Originally when I started, it wasn't as prevalent here in the US. You know, I remember I saw Bob Marley album, Natty Dread, back in the 70s. And I was so impressed with the simple fact that you have a Rasta man and album cover, and it wasn't just Jamaica anymore, it was now international. You know, I felt good about it. So when I moved to Florida, I decided to grow my locks because, again, it was my identity to where I was from. It was my way of saying I'm a Jamaican and I'm proud of being a Rasta man, you know? And I wore it proudly for 25 years. There were times when there were negative reaction from some of the people that you encounter, whether it's authority figure or just some people who think they're prestige or prestigious. They may give you a negative, you know, look. When the COVID happened, I had opened 2 other places, and basically all the money I had put into the expansion of 2 other places. But staffing issue and all of these things just, it was a loss. You know, it was a major loss for me. It was a bad decision, and it was a decision that caused me to kind of sink in a depression, in a sense. You know, so the way I dealt with it was I went to take my son one day to get a haircut. And when I took him to get a haircut, I was sitting there and I felt so bad, you know, that I said, you know something, I don't feel like me anymore, you know. And at that point, I just said, you know, I'm gonna be next in the barber chair. And the girl looked at me and she's like, what? You know, because, you know, she has always seen me there, and I would be very stern about not cutting my hair. So when I asked her to cut my hair, she was like, she couldn't believe it. You know, so she got her scissors and she basically trimmed some from around the edges. And I looked at it and I said, no, I still didn't feel good about myself, you know. And I asked her just to cut it all off. And after I cut it off, you sink deeper in a depression, because I did. After wearing your locks for 25 years, you know, is now a different person, you know. So it took me probably a month or so to start feeling better about myself, you know, after I cut it. It's just a new chapter in my life. Sat down is not the typical Jamaican restaurant. When you walk in here, you know, you're not just gonna see me. You know, you will see my son sometime, and you will see other people that's from Thailand, you know, but of course, Asian culture. It's me that's doing the cooking, it's me that's doing the recipe, but of course, no man is an island, so I can't do it all by myself. You will always find a diversity when you walk in here. So I have an older son that's an executive kitchen manager. I have a daughter that's a part of this amazing company that she's the COO. And then of course my little son, Zoe, he has grown up in this and now he has embraced it. So now he's in the kitchen, he's cooking, he's doing commercial, he's doing the social media at time, and I'm really impressed with him. You know, he has grown up to be an amazing part of Sat Down, you know. So I will call him Sat Down Junior every single time, you know, and he knows this, you know.
My name is Hyde, you know. I'm the second chef in the kitchen, sponsored by my dad. You know, he taught me everything in that kitchen. I know how to cook a lot of things. We could start with the jerk salmon, the curry salmon, curry shrimp. You could tell me in the kitchen to customize something, I can do it, you know. It's been an interesting experience, if I'm gonna be honest, you know. It's been great, honestly. I learned a lot, you know, in the past couple of years. When I was a kid, I used to be like up front in the tables, you know, taking people's orders, you know, at a young age, you know, doing a lot, doing the most I can to my ability, and then working my way slowly to the kitchen because I always wanted to be there. Honestly, like, what I haven't told my dad is that I would like to retire him from his spot and just be number one, you know, instead he can stay home all the time. I can be here, cook, you know, take the lead, we can expand the business, you know. So honestly, I think that's what I would want to do, you know, from like what I haven't told my dad, because I know what I'm doing, you know, almost to his level. I think I can outbeat him in a lot of the foods he cooks too, you know, so yeah, you know, I think that's a secret, you know, but don't tell him though. I really am proud of my dad, you know, because he creates foods, you know, everyone's impressed by, you know.
We appreciate always having great people walk into my place, and we turn around and give them good service and good food. All right? Yeah, man.